In the deepest shadows of the underworld, beyond fire and torment, stand the terrifying sentinels known as Hell's Gatekeepers. These ancient demons guard the threshold between the living and the damned, ensuring no soul escapes and none enter unbidden. From myth to scripture, every culture whispers of monstrous watchers who keep order in the chaos below. Who are these demonic wardens? What powers do they wield? And what secrets lie beyond the infernal gates they protect? Join us as we descend into the abyss to uncover Hell's Gatekeepers, demons that guard the underworld. The journey begins now. Hell's Gatekeepers, demons that guard the underworld. Across mythologies and religions, the concept of an underworld, a shadowy domain where souls descend after death, has always held both fascination and terror. But even more haunting are the entities said to guard its gates, the Gatekeepers of Hell. These are not mere monsters, they are cosmic sentinels, sworn to ensure that the damned never escape and that no living soul trespasses where the dead dwell. From ancient Mesopotamia to Christian demonology, these guardians appear in countless forms, sometimes serpentine, sometimes humanoid, often both terrifying and majestic. Their presence at the threshold between life and death symbolizes the eternal balance between order and chaos, justice and damnation. This is the story of Hell's Gatekeepers, the demons that guard the underworld. The underworld and the role of the gatekeeper. In almost every ancient culture, the underworld was a realm of transition and punishment. The Greeks called it Hades, the Egyptians called it Duat, the Mesopotamians called it Kur, and in Christian theology, it became hell. Yet across these traditions, one theme remains constant: there are always guards at the gates. Gatekeepers serve multiple purposes. They enforce divine law, ensuring that souls follow their destined path. They protect sacred boundaries, preventing spirits from returning to the mortal world. They often act as judges or tormentors, reflecting the moral order of the universe. These beings embody the principle that death is irreversible, and that crossing between realms comes at a heavy price. Mesopotamia, the ancient watchers of the netherworld. The earliest recorded underworld guardians come from Mesopotamian mythology, one of humanity's oldest spiritual systems. The Sumerians and Babylonians described a shadowy realm known as Idkala or Kur, ruled by the goddess Ereshkigal, the queen of the dead. The gates of Idkala were watched over by terrifying sentinels known as the Galu demons. These beings were said to drag the souls of the dead, or sometimes even the living, into the underworld. They were relentless, heartless servants of Ereshkigal and her consort, Nergal, the god of death and plague. Each of the 7 gates of the underworld was guarded by a specific Galu, each demanding a toll from those who entered. In the myth of Inanna's descent, the goddess Inanna, Ishtar, must pass through all 7 gates, surrendering one piece of her divine regalia at each stage. The Galu demons ensure that she cannot escape once she descends, enforcing the rigid laws of the dead. The Galu represent one of the earliest depictions of underworld gatekeepers, servants of cosmic order whose duty transcends morality. They are not evil for the sake of evil, they are simply enforcers of death's domain. Egypt, guardians of the Duat. In ancient Egypt, the journey through the afterlife was perilous and complex. The soul had to pass through 12 gates, each representing an hour of the night, guarded by fearsome beings. These demons, though monstrous in form, were not inherently evil, they served the will of Osiris, lord of the underworld. Each gate was defended by serpents, hybrid beasts, and fiery sentinels who demanded that the deceased recite sacred spells and passwords to pass safely. The Book of the Dead and the Book of Gates describe these beings in vivid detail. The flame-eyed serpent who devours those unworthy of passage. Apep, Apophis, the great serpent of chaos, who attempts to stop the sun god Ra's nightly journey through the Duat. The demons of fire, who wield burning knives to punish the wicked. Perhaps the most famous guardian, however, is Amit, the devourer of souls. Part crocodile, part lion, and part hippopotamus, she sat beside the scales of Ma'at during the weighing of the heart. When a soul's heart was found heavier than the feather of truth, Amit devoured it, condemning the spirit to eternal oblivion. To the Egyptians, these gatekeepers were not malevolent. They embodied cosmic balance, ensuring that only the righteous achieved eternal life, while the corrupt faced annihilation. The Underworld's guardians were therefore divine instruments of justice, not mere tormentors. Greek and Roman Underworld, Cerberus and the Judges. In Greek mythology, the Underworld known as Hades, or Tartarus, its deepest pit, was also protected by gatekeeping entities, none more iconic than Cerberus, the monstrous three-headed hound of Hades. Cerberus, son of the monstrous Typhon and Echidna, stood guard at the gates of the underworld to prevent the dead from leaving and the living from entering. His three heads symbolized past, present, and future, or alternatively, birth, youth, and death, the eternal cycle of life. Each head was said to have a serpent's maner, and his tail was that of a dragon. Several myths highlight Cerberus's terrifying role. Hercules, had to capture Cerberus as his final labor, demonstrating his power over death itself. Orpheus soothed Cerberus with music to rescue Eurydice from the underworld. In addition to Cerberus, the underworld had three divine judges, Minos, Rhadamanthus, and Aeacus, who determined the fate of souls. They were assisted by spirits and daimons who enforced their rulings, such as the Furies, Erinyes, and the Keers, vengeful spirits that dragged the wicked to their punishment. Roman mythology adopted these same beings, adding layers of moral symbolism. For the Greeks and Romans alike, the guardians of the underworld symbolized divine justice, ensuring that mortal deeds were accounted for in death. Christian and medieval demonology, the infernal wardens. In Christian demonology, hell is portrayed as a realm not only of punishment but of strict hierarchy. The infernal gates themselves are described in the Book of Revelation as being sealed with chains that only divine power can break. Yet, within this infernal architecture exist the gatekeepers of hell, demons tasked with maintaining the order of eternal torment. One of the most famous is Belial, often described as the guardian of the infernal gates and one of the first angels to fall. He is said to tempt the souls of the wicked, dragging them into his dominion. Asmodeus, too, is sometimes named as a warden of lustful souls, ensuring that sinners remain bound to their desires in the afterlife. In medieval grimoires like the Lesser Key of Solomon, we find references to infernal guards such as Bifrons, Astaroth, and Abaddon, Apollyon. Abaddon, in particular, is described in Revelation 9 verse 11 as the angel of the bottomless pit, commanding legions of locust-like demons. His role as the keeper of the abyss aligns with the ancient tradition of underworld guardianship. In Christian lore, these gatekeepers represent not balance, but divine retribution, fallen angels bound to the task of tormenting the damned, each serving as both jailer and judge. The gates of hell are not just metaphysical barriers, but symbols of spiritual imprisonment, guarded by the very beings who once rebelled against heaven. Norse mythology, Hell's watchdogs and the bridge keeper. In the frigid mists of Norse mythology, the underworld, called Helheim, is ruled by Hel, the half-dead daughter of Loki. Her realm is bleak, cold, and shrouded in eternal twilight, reserved for those who did not die in battle. The entrance to Helheim is guarded by Gama, the blood-soaked hound often compared to Cerberus. He howls at the gates, and during Ragnarok, the end of the world, he will break free, bringing death and chaos to the living. Gama's presence ensures that no soul leaves hell without hell's consent. Another important figure is Modgud, the spectral guardian of the Jalabru, the bridge that spans the river Jejul leading to Helheim. When souls approach, Modgud questions them, demanding their name, lineage, and cause of death. Only the dead may cross her bridge, any living being attempting it faces her wrath. These guardians reflect the Norse emphasis on honor and destiny. Dying bravely ensured entry into Valhalla, but dying dishonorably led to Helheim, where Gama and Modgud maintained the natural order. Their watchful presence reinforced that no warrior could escape their fate, no matter how mighty. Asian perspectives, guardians of Naraka. In Hindu and Buddhist traditions, the underworld, often called Naraka, is a place of purification and punishment. Governed by Yama, the Lord of Death, it contains multiple hells, each with its own guardians. These guardians are not purely demonic, they are divine enforcers of karmic law. The Yamadutas, Yama's messengers, drag sinful souls to Naraka and ensure they face the consequences of their actions. They are terrifying in form, black-skinned, fanged, and wielding nooses made of fire. In Tibetan Buddhism, the Bardo Thodol, Book of the Dead, describes similar figures who guard the passage between life and death. The Dharmapalas, or protectors of the law, appear as wrathful deities, but their rage is compassionate. They scare the soul into enlightenment or enforce karmic justice upon the wicked. The Buddhist concept of guardianship thus carries a unique message. Even demonic forms can embody compassionate justice. The gatekeepers of Naraka are not evil, they are part of the soul's journey toward eventual liberation. Japanese mythology, the Oni of Jigoku. In Japanese folklore, the underworld is known as Jigoku, a place ruled by Enma-Dai, King Yama. The gates of Jigoku are guarded by Oni, grotesque horned demons wielding iron clubs. These creatures are both jailers and torturers, responsible for punishing sinners in proportion to their crimes. Some Oni serve specific roles, such as the Red Oni, who punishes violent criminals, and the Blue Oni, who torments deceivers and liars. The imagery of these demons guarding the blazing gates of Jigoku has influenced centuries of Japanese art and theater, often blending horror with moral instruction. The Oni, like their Hindu and Buddhist counterparts, serve cosmic justice rather than chaos. Their duty is eternal, to maintain the boundary between the pure and the impure, ensuring that all souls face the truth of their deeds. The symbolism of the gatekeeper. Across all these traditions, the gatekeeper of hell is more than just a monster, it is a metaphor for spiritual law. Every culture projects its understanding of death, justice, and morality onto these beings. In Mesopotamia, they symbolize obedience to divine command. In Egypt, they reflect the balance of Ma'at, truth and order. In Greece, they enforce moral justice through mythic symbolism. In Christianity, they embody divine punishment and eternal separation from God. In Asia, they represent karmic enforcement and spiritual purification. In every form, the gatekeeper is both a boundary and a warning, a reminder that death is not chaos, but an ordered transition. The demons that guard the underworld do not merely terrify, they remind the living of moral law, spiritual balance, and the inevitability of consequence. Modern interpretations. In modern culture, the idea of the underworld's gatekeepers continues to evolve. Literature, films, and games reimagine these beings as complex characters, sometimes tragic, sometimes noble, sometimes purely terrifying. From Dante's Inferno to Supernatural, Hellboy, and Dark Souls, the archetype of the infernal guardian remains deeply compelling. These figures symbolize not only fear of death but fascination with the unknown, the threshold between worlds. Even today, when science replaces myth, the image of a demonic guardian standing at the fiery gates of the afterlife continues to resonate. It speaks to humanity's eternal curiosity about what lies beyond, and our need to believe that some kind of order, divine or infernal, governs the chaos of eternity. The gatekeepers of hell are more than mythological creatures, they are embodiments of cosmic law. Whether as the Galu demons of Mesopotamia, Amit of Egypt, Cerberus of Greece, Abaddon of Christianity, Gama of Norse myth, or the Oni of Japan, each plays a crucial role in defining the structure of the afterlife. They remind us that death is not a void but a journey, a crossing guarded by forces that demand respect, balance, and truth. These demons stand at the threshold of all existence, silent and watchful, ensuring that every soul finds its rightful place in the vast order of the cosmos. As the fires of the underworld fade and the echoes of the gatekeepers grow silent, we're left with one chilling truth: the boundaries of hell are never unguarded. These ancient demons stand eternal, keeping balance between the worlds of the living and the dead. But what if their watch ever fails? What if the gates were to open once more? If you enjoyed this descent into darkness, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more forgotten myths and forbidden tales from beyond. Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and beware the watchers at hell's gates.